Yeah. So one of my pushbacks was, just this lack of participation that I feel that, young people had displayed, especially in the case of Bernie. So, I'm worried about that. I'm worried. And I've seen it now many times, right? When I was working in overseas in Pakistan, it was the same thing. We used to have these massive rallies where thousands, they made Bernie's rallies look tiny in comparison,
Right.
where
Right.
thousands and thousands of young people would show up, and for the supporting their candidate and their party, but didn't show up to vote. Now, obviously, voter suppression there is on another level as well, so that plays into it as well, right? But you know what? If you're motivated for something, you will do it, right? Also, too, I mean, okay, let's go back to now, and this is what I think an important thing that you and I need to talk about is, celebrity culture. Okay, so
Okay.
I keep hearing this thing, and I've seen it honestly, like in you and other young people that I work with. I've seen it. You have a heightened moral compass. You have a heightened idea of what's ethical and what's not in business and political practices. I've seen it, and I know it's there, right? The issue that I have is you guys also created the influencers of our time, the celebrities of our time.
Right.
You guys are the ones who are, celebrating them, giving them money, amplifying them, following them, liking them, etc. on your social media. You've created the new brand of celebrity, right? The everyday celebrity influencer who also makes millions selling us shit, right? Selling us garbage. So, I want you to talk about that too, because at the end of the day, man, let's not forget, it's celebrity culture that created Trump, okay? And I remind my Gen X friends all the time that we created Trump. We celebrated Trump, man. Like, if anybody tells you that they didn't think Trump was the shit in the 80s and 90s and thought he was the poster boy for success, no matter how many times he was caught cheating or on his wife or cheating on his taxes or bankruptcies, people still admired him, loved. Trump was synonymous with success, okay? So we allowed him to become a celebrity. We allowed him to get that show, and then we watched that show, and he rightfully so, leverage that all into a presidency, right? And I don't see your generation doing anything different, Ankur. Like, I think that, you guys are also headed down that path of this celebrity worship and this celebrity culture.
It's interesting. I'm just trying to think about that for a sec.
Digest that and I'll keep going. So listen, so here's my issue. So here's my recent examples, okay? Ryan Reynolds gives $4,000 to the Edmonton Food Bank and everybody loses their shit. $4,000, Ankur. You and I, in good times, could give $4,000 to the Edmonton Food Bank, okay? We're celebrating this like he's like the next coming, man. $4,000, you know how minuscule? $4,000 to Ryan is like you and me giving $40, man.
So actually, this is a great. Now I have my train of thought.
Okay, go for it.
I think young people do not. I think so. Here's my train of thought. And if you go back to the 1960s, 50s, etc., a lot of young people aspired to the public service. Right? They saw the government as a way to create social change. A lot of that was emblematic of the times, right? If you think about what happened post-1930s with FDR, the New Deal, we're talking Social Security, we're talking minimum wage, we're talking the government. It wasn't, should we have the government in the economy? It's what extent should the government be in the economy, right? From there, we then get to this mid-70s. We start seeing Milton Friedman. We start seeing this whole shareholder primacy theory, where people are like, you know what? The only real mandate of these corporations are to create profit for their shareholders, right? And so that reigns dominant for the next 30 or 40 years or so. And then what we start to see is we start seeing the last 10 years or so this, what I think is frankly a charade, but the charade of, if I'm a corporation and the things that I do day to day are negative, as long as I engage in corporate social responsibility or some sort of giving or some sort of charitable endeavor, and I market that really well, I think they're like, we'll be fine because people will just eat that up. And frankly, in years prior, we have. In years prior, we have eaten that up. We're like, oh my gosh. Great example. When Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan Zuckerberg donated, I think it was $1 billion. Back in the day, we were like, wow. Education, we're like, wow. Look at these billionaires giving back their money. Look at Oprah. Look at Jay-Z giving back their money. It's great. But I think, like, to be fair, I think over the last couple of years, we've started to see some criticism there. And we've started to be like we've started to take a look at things like when Jeff Bezos announced he was donating, I think it was $100 million to COVID-19, a whole bunch of videos came out on Instagram, on TikTok, and it was literally like it was like a huge piggy bank with Jeff Bezos' wealth here and $100 million here, and they took like a penny and they dropped it. And I'm starting to see a level of, I would say, skepticism now. So to answer your question, I think for the last 5-10 years, you're right. Young people have also fallen into this fallacy of, we don't need systemic change because these people are making these donations, they're doing these charitable endeavors, that's all good. But I think that at least the young people that are really paying attention to this are starting to be like, okay, you know, this $10 million donation is good, but it doesn't excuse the fact that you guys don't pay taxes. It doesn't excuse the fact that your company is responsible for so many of these problems. So even if you put this in, it's like a drop in the middle of an ocean that you caused. So I think we're starting to smarten up.
Yeah, but Ankur, man, you know, and I'm gonna keep calling bullshit where you know I hear it, because and it's because honestly, man, like if I feel like if young people don't see the path, you know, your generation and Gen Z don't see the path, we're doomed, right? In terms of being able to bring true change. You know, I keep hearing this, like, you know, oh, everything's going to change after the pandemic and everybody's going to be more socially conscious, and, you know, oh, you know, we're all going to be like looking for social value in company. We're going to all shop local. Bullshit. No, we're not.
Bullshit.
You know, people don't change that easy. Systems don't change that easy. We're all going to be worried about getting back on track and getting back what we had and going back to accumulating whatever we want to accumulate and behaving how we ever behaved. I'll show you the best indicator of that. So Ankur, so again, going back to our conversation about if you really want change, you got to act on those three things: social, judicial, and economic, financial, right? What have you guys done? You haven't, right? You know how much Jeff Bezos added $24 billion to his wealth during the pandemic, bro.
Right.
So that means you guys aren't doing fuck all, man. You're still buying his shit. You guys are still buying his shit. Okay, let's say it's not just you guys. But here's the thing, like, you guys want to hurt him, then actually stop buying shit on Amazon. You know what I mean?
I disagree with that.
Listen,
I don't
hear me out. Here's my other piece. Here's my other piece, and then I'll let you comment, right? Here's my other piece. Why is Bill Gates telling me how I should live my life during a pandemic? This is the same Bill Gates, Ankur, that couldn't identify how much a quart of milk costs, right? He doesn't know. He's so disconnected from the everyday life. He doesn't know how much groceries cost. And now I keep getting messages and videos how Bill Gates was such an oracle and predicted this. Bullshit. Anybody can predict a pandemic when he's based his life, his foundations based on, you know, vaccines and polio eradication, you know, which, by the way, you know, Bill Gates would have you believe that he invented this idea of eradicating polio off the face of the earth, even though people have been doing this work since the late 90s. And actually, by the time that Bill got involved, there's only 3 countries in the world that have polio now, you know, but, you know, Bill Gates and polio eradication are like synonymous. Bullshit, right? And we can't keep letting this happen. I don't need Bill Gates to explain to me how I should be living my life during the pandemic. I don't need toxic positivity from a billionaire.
Okay. With regards to Bill Gates, I mean, I don't have as many thoughts there, but I do want to focus on the other thing. I think, frankly, it's unfair to expect one of the worst financially well-off, like, generations in history to be the ones to hold this burden of, you have to buy local, you have to buy these sorts of companies, because frankly, they're more expensive. And we don't have as much disposable income. So what you're saying to us now is you have to pay for more expensive things. You also have to be woke in these ways. You know what I mean? I think frankly, instead of putting the burden on consumers who are already dealing with like negative economic anxiety, the burden should be on governments being like, hey, why is it that Amazon has paid barely any federal income taxes? Why is it that we don't have a wealth tax? Why, like, at the end of this, when all this is done, like right now, like, frankly, I think it's disingenuous for us to like even like, yes, Jeff Bezos has made billions of dollars during the course of this pandemic, but everyone's attention right now is on the public health disaster of this pandemic. When this is done, though, countries around the world will be trillions of dollars in debt. States and provinces will be billions of dollars in debt, and cities will be millions of dollars in debt. People can't pay that money back because the people are already economically disadvantaged, and we need them to be spending money to incentivize the economy, right? Governments are already broke. They're not going to go any further into debt. We need to get that money some way. And I think, frankly, the conversations about the wealth tax, conversations about cracking down on tax offshoring, and conversations about cracking down on capital gains taxes will increase dramatically. And like, I see young people getting involved there, being like, frankly, we are already so fucked by these two recessions. Why should the economic burden be placed on us? We should be taxing organizations like Amazon, like Apple, who have been able to largely get away with this over the last couple of decades. And we should be taxing people like Jeff Bezos with the wealth tax.
Okay, so I'll accept that. I'll accept the fact that, you know, the burden shouldn't be all put on your generation or Gen Z. That's absolutely correct. But then, you know, my question is, again, so here's what you're saying. You're saying, you know, we can't afford to buy local. We can't afford, you know, to make some of these changes that require.
In all instances.
Listen, hear me out. So, you know, Amazon's so cheap, like, it's just, you know, we have no option. Come on, man. You just have to buy less. I mean, we've already proven that during this pandemic. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need 5 shirts. Buy one shirt local that's more expensive, that'll last you longer, right? Buy one of something, not 10 of something, right? So consumerism is one of the issues, okay? So, and that's not just on you guys either, right? That's on all of us, right? But again, man, going back to our conversation, Ankur, man, companies, large corporations, government only listen to 2 things, okay? And you can beat your head against the wall as much as you want, okay? They only listen to money and votes, okay? So no government, no ruling party is going to listen to anyone unless they represent a significant number of votes or it hurts their donor base, okay? Corporations, same thing. Unless it hurts their pocketbooks, you can cry into the void as much as you want about their practices, okay? So we can't at the same time say we need them to change, but I got to keep buying their shit because it's just so damn cheap, right? You can't.
That's fair.
Right?
Yeah.
Second of all, you know, you can, you know, this again, going back to, so my question then is, okay, so you're saying that it's actually governments that have to change and we have to tax these guys and wealth tax and offshoring and stuff. What's going on? And so explain to me or give me an example, and this is unfair to put you on the spot, but maybe you have the answer. Give me an example of one movement that's doing that, man. Like, give me an example of one movement that's actually making steps towards getting this done.
A great question. So a couple things. First, I largely agree with the point that there is an argument about just consuming less. And it's something that I've personally done as well. Like, I've taken a look at my own consumption patterns and been like, you know what? If my shirt from H&M is going to go bad every 6 months, I'd rather buy a higher quality shirt. So there absolutely is an argument there, and I think that should be part of the strategy. I just think, frankly, that focusing on that without focusing on systemic policy change is a recipe for disaster. So that's my larger point, but I do agree with you there, right?